Hi there, I'm Beetlejuice from Reddit's Wicked Edge, and I thought today I'd take a couple of minutes and do a little bit of a walkthrough of what has to be, for some of you new guys, a tremendously baffling amount of information. There's a ton of FAQs out there, but I found people tend to retain information better when shown. Now, that's not to say that reading's bad. Absolutely not the case. I highly recommend that you do research beyond the cursory glance that I'm going to give you with this right now. But there's a couple of different styles of razors to start with. You've got your double edges here, which are the most common and what most of you are probably either looking at getting or wanting to get into. We have the straight edges, which are, there's a couple of different types, we'll get into that now in a minute, and there's some of the more exotic ones, less common, but again, I'm going to walk through these. Double edge razors are called double edge razors because, also safety razor, by the way, they're called that because of the blade itself. This has two cutting edges, thus double edge. Very thin, originally made of carbon steel. The modern ones are stainless steel. You'll also find different coatings. There's PTFE, platinum, and a whole bunch of others. Just because it's not a cartridge razor doesn't mean that we don't get inundated with a little bit of mine's better than yours because we have this wonder product. It's just not quite as ridiculous. So, the body types themselves can be summed up quite nicely with these two. This is a twist to open. This is a Feather Popular, or a Feather 800, by the way. And what you do, this little collar here, or in the case of this Gillette, it's at the base. You twist the collar, and it clamshells open. So, also known as a butterfly or a clamshell, twist to open, or TTO. Again, just pop out your blade, put in a fresh blade, close it, and tighten it. The other type, and there are two subtypes of this. There's a 2-piece and a 3-piece. This is a Wilkinson razor, and the bottom half of the head is attached to the handle, and you just twist the handle and it unscrews, leaving you the ability to place a blade in here. Then you simply put the cap back on. Of course, you wouldn't have your fingers anywhere near the blade surface like you just saw me do. And just screw it in. Simple, straightforward, one moving part, very difficult to muck up. You also have, there are a couple of different types, but this one's one of the more infamous ones. This is a Mercure Future. Now, on the back here there's a small stud. And you just pop it open like that. Two little springs in here on either side hold these two little flared pips. And from there you just simply place a blade back in, aligning on this little center stud. Place the cap back on top, and done. Now, within the double edge razors, or safety razors, there are two different types. There are the non-adjustables and the adjustables. Two different methods. With the Gillette, you adjust this collar, and that raises or lowers this bar slightly away from the razor, or the cutting edge. Now, if you have one of these, I highly recommend, when you make your adjustments, release the handle, and if it just slightly, then you'll hear it actually. That click is actually the pressure being released from the mechanism, and you'll hear it much more substantially. If I tighten it and bring it the other way, that click is the blade actually changing position. When you bring this back down, the blade will be in a slightly different angle than it was when you did that adjustment with it locked down hard. The reason is that as you're pushing the blade up, if it's clamped, it's actually distorting the blade because it's holding the blade here on the edge underneath the cutting head to keep it from vibrating or moving. The problem is that when you release it, you've just changed how that blade is now set geometry-wise. Again, it's one of the things I found made for an inconsistent shave until I figured out what was going on. The Futura, however, has no such problem. The blade is actually, it's an open floating system. And let's see, we're set on a 1 here. I'm just going to let the camera catch up to focus. As I move it, you can see it open and close there. What this does is it increases the angle of attack of the blade. So you can get a very mild shave or a very aggressive shave, depending on what you need, where you need it. I find that actually as I move around on my face, I actually have to change slightly on either system. So that's the double edge. Just move those to one side. Now, straight edge. Basically, you have the scales, what some people refer to as the handle, the tang, which is the piece that sticks out the back, or the tail, tang more appropriately, the shank. You may or may not have little notches cut in the bottom of the shank. They're called jimps, and they're there for traction more than anything else. Your pivot pin, the blade itself, the back is referred to as the spine. This would be the nose, and there are a couple of different types of noses. This is just a square point. There's some with a notch cut out of them, which are referred to as a barber's notch. The round point, there's French points, which are or Spanish points, which are sloped out a little bit more. That could almost be, you could almost call that a Spanish point, but I personally don't. I don't think it's out far enough to really qualify. And between that and this, you notice this one is much thinner. It's scooped away. This is called hollow grounding. This has not been ground out and is almost triangular. This is very, very heavy. The difference in the shave quality is up for debate. These are harder to sharpen. These are lighter and, in my personal experience, a little more lively blade. However, they also work very, very well. Very easy to sharpen once you understand how. Then you have the Japanese version. This is Kamsori. It's hollow ground on one side. It is flat ground on the other. The handle may or may not be wrapped. I've seen them in bamboo. This is hemp or cotton. And I've also seen them clean and live. Extremely sharp. Difficult to use simply because it's a different system. I shouldn't say it's difficult. It's different than what I'm used to with the Western blades. So, sorry, that's my bias showing there a little bit. Apologize. And then, of course, we have the one Shavette and its similar sister, the Parker. Both of these take replaceable blades. These are actually half-snap double-edged blades. I'll just slide this out so that you can see. And there you go. You break the blade in half yourself, and you can buy them actually pre-broken. And then it's slid in, and it gives you most of the experience that you will get with a straight razor. The purists will tell you that this is not a correct straight razor. It's 90%. I don't really have a problem with people using them or calling them straight razors. The Parker is a little different. You pull back your guard tang, and then separate these two pieces, and there's your rather lively blade. And that is aligned on those two copper pins, and then reassembled like so. Which is better? This, because it is thinner, you can get a steeper angle when you're shaving. That's a good thing and a bad thing. This has a guard to the nose, so it's very difficult to do a push cut on yourself. Parker has no such restrictions. However, this is also thicker, so you cannot get quite the same angle. And this will not give quite as close a shave as a straight edge. This one is probably closer to the straight edge experience if you were to ask, but my personal, I would recommend the Dovo over, but that's me editorializing, and I wasn't going to do that. This is simply an FAQ. So, now, some of the more exotic pieces. This is a gem Micromatic push button. This guy takes single edge blades, also referred to as an SE. Now, you can find blades that look like these at the hardware store. They're not the same thing. But if you have one of these, if you're getting one of these, get the proper blades. And check a reputable shave shop. The ones at the hardware store are not designed to the same tolerances and will destroy you. This is an injector razor. There are a couple of different models. This one's from the early 70s, I believe. I have to go and check my figures. And it's called injector razor because what you do is you slide this key into the back of it and inject a blade that is sitting in this carrier, and that will push out the existing blade, and you extract that. The advantage with it is it's a very strong blade. Same thing with the other single edge I showed. The downside is there are not many manufacturers for this, and I think there's actually only two. Schick is still making them, and I believe Persona, but I haven't seen Persona blades in a while. A really nice shave, really solid shave, probably a nice balance for those transitioning from cartridge razor, but they can be hard to find. This one in particular is damaged, just slightly bent to the point where it will not hold a blade in line. So, like anything else, if you're buying used, be careful, know what you're buying, understand that it might look good in the picture. This looked fantastic until I got it home, and it was a bit of a problem. But as a curiosity piece. So, next, well, we might as well get into this. This is an antique earthenware shaving bowl. This is a dollar store cappuccino mug. Both work just fine. This is a sugar bowl with glycerin shaving soap melted into the bottom of it. Again, works fine. You do not need to spend a ton of money to have something that you can use to shave properly with. If you want to, you can get exceptionally complicated. For example, this is a scuttle. You hear the term incorrectly used to refer to anything that you're using shaving soap with. This is a double bowl container. Inside here goes hot water, and that keeps the lather that you build inside here warm. Several manufacturers of the modern ones, there are antiques as well, usually not this big. Don't put boiling water in this. Hot tap water is about as hot as you can go. Boiling water will wreck your lather. As much of a good idea as it would seem, it doesn't work. As for soaps, we have hard soaps that came in their own little wooden bowl. We have shaving cream. Not the same shaving cream you're familiar with, This is scooped up on a brush and then whipped up into a lather in a bowl, or you can work directly onto your face. Rubbed on your face, your wet face, and then you use a brush to build lather from there. Which is best? The one that works for you, honestly. There's no best in this game. I can't tell you what's going to work for you. Those of you who've heard me talk, this is Mitchell's. This is the Queen. As far as my experience goes, this is tallow-based soap, and it's got lanolin built into it, or worked into it. Very much moisturizing. Some people don't like the scent. Again, the bowl looks great. Not really necessary. And check some of my other videos and you can see me actually, I use just a bare puck on my face and I can work that up into a lather. So if you really would like to know a bit more about that, check out my video on shaving soaps, a brief look. Now, brushes. There's a bunch of stuff that you can get into with brushes. This is an antique synthetic. If you've bought an antique synthetic like this, do not let this turn you off from the modern synthetics. I've not had an opportunity to try them, but apparently this is awful. There's no nice way of saying it. This is just horrible. It's sharp-faced nylon cut bristles, and it's awful. This is a boar hair brush. This is probably the cheapest that you're going to find out and about. Unfortunately, this has been trimmed. If you notice, it's very much a perfect flat face. That's because it's been shaved. And the problem with shaving it is these are sharp. And this is a very unpleasant shave. Boar itself doesn't, boar bristle, or sometimes you'll see it referred to as pure bristle, doesn't hold as much water, so can be more problematic. This one in particular is in my do not recommend pile. If you have one and you can make it work, awesome. Now, this is a little more like it. This is a proper boar brush. Once this is soaked in water, you actually throw this in water and let it soak for a few minutes before you start using it. This is an Omega brush. This is a 10,005. The Pro brushes are apparently better again and very economically priced. Not hard to find one of these under $20. Makes lather very well. Give it some time to break it in, a couple of weeks, and serve you quite well. Now, Badger. Everybody loves Badger. Your three basic grades are here. Pure, Best, and Super. And you can tell there's an obvious difference here. Pure is anywhere from the Badger, mostly from the back, and they hold an amazing amount of water for their size. There was a reason why these were considered the ultimate in brushes. The Best Badger is, in my opinion, if you're going to go for a Badger brush, look at the Best Badgers. It's a nice balance. There's nothing wrong with the Pure Badgers, but this is a little more fluffy, it's a little more soft. And when you first get your brush, and this goes for the boar brushes as well, it will be a little more compact. It will probably look more like this. It will bloom out as you use it and spread. So if yours doesn't look quite right, don't worry about it. One other thing, with Badger brushes and with boar brushes as well, a lot of people have noted an animal smell associated with them. That does fade given time. If you want to accelerate that process, you can get a bar of cheap soap, say Ivory or something, and a couple of times a day practice building your lather, and that'll help clean up that smell. It will fade eventually. And of course, this is Silver Tip. This is massive. This is extremely soft. If you check out my videos, you'll see me, I use this occasionally. The problem is that it is so large and it is so soft that it's actually difficult to work it up into the follicles to try and loft the beard hair. So don't get me wrong, absolutely luxurious, absolutely fantastic. However, it's massive and takes a ton of soap to build this guy up. So at this point, I've probably got you guys either partially checked out, completely checked out, or ready to run for the hills. Hopefully you're still with me. Now, you've had your shave. What next? Well, if you're like me, your face may have gotten a little irritated. You may have gotten a little nick here and there, and this is the answer. Either an alum block or a styptic pencil. I actually keep both in my bathroom. They're relatively inexpensive. Styptic pencil and the alum block are actually the same material. This one is more concentrated, if you will, and may actually be aluminum alum as opposed to potash alum. The difference is this one bites harder, but it also will seal a nick much faster, in my experience. This you wet and rub over your face. It acts as a sterilizer and will seal little cuts. It also helps with ingrown hairs. This is strictly spot treatment for cuts. Now, you've shaved and you've got your alum done. After you're done, you may, depending on your face, want some aftercare. You can get something like Thayer's medicated witch hazel. This is aloe vera, and it's a cuts down on the burn and the sting. It is a little bit of a sterilizer as well, so it does help. And the aloe, of course, is helps with healing. Something like lime skin food or coral skin food is you can use this pre-shave as well to soften your beard. And then, of course, you have other natural products like I'm partial to jojoba or almond oil. And of course, then once you're done with all of that, aftershave. You may or may not want to use. I tend to, personally, but again, it's personal experience. So, I know that this has been a lot of information, and hopefully we're able to get some clarity out of this. Stick with it, read through, check out the videos on my channel, on Mantic's channel, explore, learn, read. Check out our Wicked Edge on Reddit. We're more than happy to answer your questions, help you out. We were all first-time shavers at one point, and I think we all have learned to share what knowledge we have. I am by no means the ultimate authority on any of this, but I will share what I know with you guys and never feel like you can't say that I'm wrong, because guess what? I get to be wrong too. And if you're worried about, getting your little nicks and cuts as you're learning, check out my videos. You'll find that nobody is immune. It takes time and it does get better. Stick with it. Anyway, until next time, I'm Beetlejuice for Reddit's Wicked Edge, and keep them